Two Boston area detectives investigate a little girl's disappearance, which ultimately leads to a professional and personal crisis. I've always heard about Gone Baby Gone. I consider myself a Ben Affleck fan. A lot of people don't like him, probably because of how he acts in real life. I didn't read the book. I didn't really know too much about it going in. All I know was that it was about, someone disappeared. So this, how do I even go into this? It's really weird because there's good things in this movie. There's some really good things and really good scenes. Pretty damn good acting all around. Something I need to clarify with adaptations, because especially stuff where it's like we're going from this medium to this medium. So this is an adaptation of a book, and I usually don't have any problems with that. I'm not one of those Nazis where it's like, oh, it has to be everything in it. The way this is written, you can kind of very quickly figure out that this is a book. When you see, stuff like Glengarry Glen Ross, where you're like, okay, was clearly a play. But whereas that movie was good and transitioned well, this one, you can tell there are scenes that are left out, because it's like, oh, this was supposed to be something really huge. It's kind of like when you saw All the King's Men, and you kind of read up the trivia and you kind of go, oh, this was meant to be 3 hours? So that's why it kind of sucked. So you start with Casey Affleck, who I really loved in this. He sounds exactly like his brother, which is kind of fun. I think he gives a little bit more of a rationale. There's something about Ben Affleck that he'll go off the rails more easily, or he's more willing to, or maybe those are the roles he's just chosen. But I find Casey Affleck has rationale that is keeping all this bottled up anger, and he's trying to be professional. He's trying to come up with solutions. I thought he was great, and when he does kind of flip out, I really love it. That bar scene is my favorite scene in the movie. I'm just like, wow. The wife, on the other hand, I feel kind of bad for this actress because I feel like she could be really good. Such a boring role. When was this made? 07, from 80s and 90s. There were sort of the love interests who were just there to smile and be the pretty face. Your Cameron Diaz is your Nicole Kidman from Batman Forever. And then you have the other extreme that we're getting now, and it's they're so boring and kind of one note. They're just as bad by us trying with effort to make them better. Boring and serious doesn't mean it's good. There is so nothing to this role. You could have written this script without that character. It wouldn't have made any difference. With something like Zodiac, which I think came out the same year, you can clearly see how the conflict of the story, how the outer conflicts is affecting their relationship. And granted, she wasn't a part of it. She was more just sort of the part of the family, was the family support, and then it gets to the point where she's like, I can't do this anymore. So in this one, it's they're trying to go to get some information. They go to the bar, and they go to this sort of drug lord, and he's the only one doing the talking. What was the point of having the wife go along with it? It's she could have just had another job, or been a housewife or something. Then you have a lot of the other supporting characters. You have the mother of the child who is being kidnapped. I thought she was great. That's one of those sort of performances you really want to hate her, and then she kind of shows her vulnerable side. Then you have Morgan Freeman. I don't think I've seen a bad performance from him. After seeing him in Bruce Almighty, where he's literally God, to see him as the head officer, it's such a iconic face where you kind of you don't really know how to take it, but he totally sells it. So there's all of these good performances, and there's all of these good characters for the most part. The way it flows feels very choppy. Every time there's a big revelation that this character is supposed to feel, it's there's a bunch of scenes that are cut out. With Morgan Freeman, it's after all this time, you're supposed to really feel it because he was so into it and he had so much passion, and it's pretty much only summed up in, a little monologue. There's not enough time for these characters to breathe. It's a little bit disappointing. And the ending, I don't even know where to start. I assume this was in the book. I'm probably just gonna go into spoilers here. The whole point of it was a scam for the parent to be put out of the equation to raise the daughter, which Morgan Freeman now has, and was the brothers doing, and they worked together. Was there no way to do this in a simpler way to gain custody, where the mother is so clearly off the rails, cannot work with people, is addicted to whatever, cocaine? I don't get it. Why did it need to be so huge? And it doesn't even work as a film. It doesn't even work on its emotional pacing. With that final frame, it leaves us on. Whether it made sense or not, I should be feeling that frame. I'm like, huh? This twist, it's one of those where it's like, okay, it was this all along, and these people were sort of working on it, whether it be people who were getting in the way or people who you were supposed to trust. They were sort of working together. Now it's supposed to all make some other big point. When movies like this do it wrong, where there's a physical beginning and end, when the twist happens, usually that destroys our hero, destroys their belief system, and sort of leaves them on this ambiguous, turbulent crisis. But they have to accept it anyway. When they do it wrong, it feels so forced. There had to be some better way to have them react to this. There had to be some better way they could have told this. Why do we even need meanings? That sounds really bad. Why do we need meanings in stories that never fully were needed for it? Why couldn't this have just been, your typical crime thriller? Could have just been that, but no, it has to have a twist. It has to have something really huge and connects to the human condition. Thrills are the human condition as well, but apparently it's not. It needs to have some philosophical edge. So it was really weird. But for the most part, I was entertained. I don't know if that's the director's thing. I think he wrote the screenplay, but as far as directing goes, it's pretty damn competent. I think I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say I found it boring. Let's just say that. Take that for what it's worth. I guess that's about it. Have a good evening, and I'll see you guys later.